Hello everyone and good day to you. This is Roger with Grubus Games Unlimited, and I welcome you to this very special update that I had to break into 3 different parts. So as you know, I don't script anything. I just kind of like talking to you guys, and there's a lot to talk about. So first of all, I hope everyone's doing great. I hope you're having a fantastic week, staying safe, enjoying any games you may be playing, and it's just always nice to hang out with you and chill out and talk about Dungeon Crusade. And this is, as I said, this is kind of a special update. We're going to be going over some parts of the revised rulebook, which I said a few days ago is very close to completion. That's going to put us into production. So I'm very happy and excited and just elated that this game is all wrapping up and soon will be out to everyone. So we're going to be going over a few sections that I've been very excited to share with you. And we're going to do a few other things. We're actually going to talk about the Avalon Adventure board game and basically the land of Avalon, because, how do I say this, that, you know, even as the creator of the Avalon Adventure board game and Dungeon Crusade and in this land of Avalon, it's really hard to like say what this game is about in 5 minutes. You know, I try to be brief and all that, but it's huge. It's a very, grandiose, epic dungeon crawl fantasy adventure, and that's what I was out to do for people, give them this massive adventure to just immerse themselves in. So we're going to talk about that also. And then and thank you, I have to say thank you for your comments on the Tomb of Caladar, and this character that I created for the game, Alistair Caladar. I just thank you so much for your kind words and all your likes and all that. It really meant a lot. And this is kind of why I wanted to touch base with you and a lot of new people about the Avalon Adventure board game and this land, because this is just a very small part of the game. I created that whole story about Alistair and the Tomb of Caladar, but there's just so much more in this land that I'm excited for you to check out, in the Avalon Adventure board game. So we're going to get to all that, but I just wanted to say that, we're going to go in depth with this in part 3. We're going to get to that in a moment. But I just wanted to really chat with you about this and this whole experience. So we'll talk about that after we talk about the rulebook stuff. But what I was going to say is, this is part 2 of the update, where we're going to go over some sections of the revised rulebook. And then after that, we're going to chat about the Avalon Adventure board game. But then in part 3, I don't think I've ever done this before. We're going to go very in depth, and we're going to actually take a virtual tour of the Tomb of Caladar, and we're going to chat all about that. And we're also going to, where did I put this at? We're not going to do this one now. We'll just briefly look at it. But this is the one rule, or the one page with the rule set for the Tomb of Caladar, because really this is kind of it's part of Dungeon Crusade, but it plays much different than the other 3 dungeons in the game. And this could almost be its own game. And that's so, and truth be told, I don't think a lot of people even knew about this. Of course, the veteran Crusaders, you don't know about this. But even then, I don't think a lot of people know about this dungeon and how it plays and how unique it is. So we are going to take a in-depth look at this. We'll save this page for part 3, because it's gonna be a nice long video, probably about 15 minutes, I would imagine, 20 minutes, and just touring the Tomb of Caladar and telling you a few things about it. But for now, let's get started with this. And I have something special I want to share with you to kick this update off, and it's from a very awesome guy, a very good friend of mine, and probably a friend to you, by the name of Daniel Davis. Yeah, so this is going to be quite a different kind of update. But I want to share this with you. We're over here on the Dungeon Dive. A lot of you here already know about this channel, and I'm going to speak from the heart about this. It's ran by Daniel DJ Davis, and he is just one heck of a nice guy. Genuinely, just a super nice guy, very knowledgeable about all of these fantasy adventure and dungeon crawl games. Me and Daniel have a lot in common. He's a keyboardist, an incredible keyboardist, composer, and we like a lot of the same games. And I've said in the past, and hope I'm getting to this, I'm a guitarist. I have a small home studio, and we're going to hopefully do some music together. I still have that offer on the table to Daniel. So Daniel, if you're watching this, let's try to do that maybe over the summer. But anyway, the reason that I'm bringing Daniel up in this channel is I really believe in what Daniel is doing. There's Daniel. There's a little Daniel right there. I really believe in what Daniel's doing here. And everyone who already knows this knows, just how awesome he is and this channel. And it's just, he did an incredible series with the Warhammer Quest 95, like really awesome. And that's one of my favorite games of all time. And he just does so much stuff for the community. And there he did a thing. He did some coverage on Dungeon Crusade, which we thank him for. He just recently did this video with all the changes. He was, seeing the game and wanted people to know. Thank him for that. It's just a great guy. Lastly, if you haven't watched this yet, here's this. He just did a top 50 games of all time. Very cool to watch. And I'll say Dungeon Crusade was on there. Thank you. I did not even expect that. But I won't spoil it for where it was at, and I won't tell you the top 10, but definitely watch this series. And you can see right here just how passionate this guy is about this. So what I'm leading up to is Daniel is going full-time. He is so passionate about this, and he wants to commit all of his time to just doing coverage of games for all of us, making videos. He's got so much. He talks about it in his videos. He has so much that he wants to do, and I really believe in him. And I know a ton of other people do also. So I just wanted to mention this. I'll put a link. He has a Patreon that he's where it's like just only a few dollars a month, and by doing this, it's going to allow him to do this full-time, like a full-time gig, and he's just got everything laid out for it. I am absolutely behind him. I wish him the best of luck and success with this, and I have a feeling he's going to do great. So I just wanted to make mention to this because he's helped us with Dungeon Crusade. He helps a ton of other people, and he's genuinely just an awesome dude. I love watching his videos, and just so well spoken. And no, I don't want to marry Daniel Davis, but he's a really good guy. So do me a favor, just take a look at his channel. I'll have a link to his Patreon page. See what's going on there. And, it's for a really good cause, for a good guy who's doing a lot for our community. Okay, now I got that out. Let's shoot back and let us talk about the revisions or the revised rulebook, some entries that I'm excited to share with you. Okay, and we are back on our kind of home screen here. Just to close that out, I didn't mean to take up a lot of time with that, but I really believe in Daniel, and he's just a great guy, and he's very passionate about what he does, and he does it very well. And I think, when you think about it, I think that's the only channel on YouTube that's so hardcore in the stuff that we love. All this fantasy adventure, dungeon crawl. He finds these little hidden gem games. It's just a great channel. So check out what he's got going on. Links in the description. Okay, so now let's talk about these few pages in the rule book. And remember that we chatted about, and I actually thought of this when I was starting this up. We're chatting about the Tomb of Kaladar coming up. We just went over the classic combat, or the classic combat and revised, but the combat systems in the game. And then prior to that, we talked about the Solo Crusader. These were sections in the revised rulebook. And it dawned on me I should probably take those videos and put them maybe in this playlist. So give me a day and I'll throw all that in there. So when someone comes in, it's kind of like a, I don't know, like a diary in a way, where we went over, everything that you can expect in the revised rulebook and how good everything's looking. So I'll throw that into this playlist. But for today, okay, that's the Tomb of Calidar. We're going to look at that rule set in part 3, which will be up today. And it's just been busy, guys. I'm sorry for the delay. There's just been a lot of nice people commenting, and I'm trying to get back to people and work on the game, and I have a family, and so, but I love spending my time here with you. And it's worth majority of the time I'm hanging out with you and doing game stuff. So let us take a look at this page here. I think that you'll enjoy seeing. This is going to be early on, like in the first few pages here, and the revised rulebook is much reduced. Everything is very to the point, not verbose. But this page here, I was very passionate about putting this here like a nice introduction for people coming into the game. So you can read a little bit here about the story I wrote for Dungeon Crusade and like what's going on in the land of Avalon. So you're greeted by this here, and then here is just an overview of kind of what the game is about. With the patrol route system, you're going to take control of 6 legendary heroes in classic Dungeon Crusade. Remember, there is Solo Crusader, but this just sets up a nice overview. But this is what I wanted to draw your attention to, and I know I was just very excited to share this part with you. I wanted to put right off the rip, right when people get into the first few pages, hey, here's the new features and revisions. So I'd like to go over this with you, and I know that some veteran Crusaders might be wondering, okay, well, what are all these changes and new features? Right here, it's all listed for you. So let's just go over this briefly. Whether you're a new Crusader or veteran, here are some of the new features and revisions made to Dungeon Crusade to give you the best experience. First off, like we talked about, the Solo Crusader mode. The most significant feature added to Dungeon Crusade is the Solo Crusader mode. And we won't go into this. I think a lot of you already know what this is about. One hero, there's the new mercenary camp. You can hire mercenaries up to 2. And then I put, for more information, go to page 22. So, if someone wants to just shoot to that page, it's already laid out for them here. We're going to be looking at this page, these next page coming up with these next entries here. There is now a scalable difficulty reference card for when heroes encounter traps, trap treasure chests, and challenge and events within the encounter deck. You can find more information, page 20. So most of you guys probably already know about this, that this is in there. But now it's, officially in the new features and revisions. So you can see exactly, what we put into the game and what we revised and new things. There's, of course, the new minion movement speed track for the Dungeon UI board. Tells you to turn to page 20. Like we just talked about, it greets people here to let them know that there is the new revised combat system. And I want to say, I said this before, with we're calling it the evolved minions, the way the combat is handled with minions, that has drastically cut game time down, which we're very happy about. And of course it's mentioned in the combat section for how you combat minions, but I just wanted to stress to especially veteran players out there, veteran Crusaders, that with that new combat system, which I love, with the final strike and critical strike, combat is now 10 to 15 seconds with minions, and it just goes with Dungeon Crusade so well. It's more thematic, quick, and so there's just so many benefits. But the biggest thing is it has drastically cut game time down with that. So there's that entry there. Of course, like we talked about in the combat section, we want to let people know that they can now select between the classic combat system or the revised combat system for combating the champion monsters and guardians of the dungeon. And there's just like some other things here. The classic combat system, what that is, and the revised one, how it's more fast-paced. So we're about to close this section out, but I just wanted to point this out, and I was just very happy. I know it's a simple thing, but I'm glad that this is all done and it's in there, so people can just know right away, what's going on with the game. Excuse me. Lastly, I'm very happy about this entry right here, and well, let's just read it. There are now various video series to learn how to play and become acclimated to the game. Navigate to YouTube and search for the following video series. And this is why it was so important to me to create this video series. Everything I'm saying, these 3 videos, they're in the description if you want to look at them. So they're in there for you. But how to set up and play the Avalon Adventure board game and Dungeon Crusade. So if someone types that in, they're going to go right to that play set, and they can see, it's me teaching them everything about the game. This is a very in-depth series, and like I always said, I always want to be there for people to teach them how to play, and I'm just so happy that, I took the time to create these series to help people out. Because let's face it, a lot of people, I do, we watch videos to learn games, or, kind of get the lay of the land and get the feel of the game. So we have this excellent series here that goes in depth. Of course, we just wrapped up the how to play the solo Crusader mode, so people could watch that. And then lastly, and this, Kevin Sims, a very awesome Kevin Sims, made mention that this video right here, in addition, search for this video on how to break apart the game and a recommended storage solution, tips and recommendations on how to store everything for Dungeon Crusade. Because I'll be honest with you, even as the creator, it's when you see Dungeon Crusade and open up that box, there's a lot of stuff. People could feel overwhelmed with it. So now when they read this, I'm right with them. We can chill out together, we can break the game apart, and I go over everything. And again, I'm glad that's in there. So these 3 video series took some time to complete, but I'm happy that they're there for new players and even veteran players to check those out. And of course, I let them know about our awesome community of fantastic players. We're always willing to help out new players. So I hope you like that. I'm just very happy that's in there, but most of all, those 3 video series to help out, people just getting into the game. Okay, so let's take a look at this. As I said, this is on page 20. We just talked about real quick. We're going to look at this at the top in a second, but how to accomplish quests and collect rewards, about moving in the dungeon, adjacent, and what's this, lighting a torch, and just again, really quick to the point, nothing verbose about it, and I'm very happy with how this came out. And then right here, this is what I was saying about the scalable difficulty reference card and the minion movement speed track. On page 20 of the revised rulebook, it just goes over, what the card basically tells you what it is, but this is just, the official, rule for it. And I put some, this in bold print so people make sure they see that. And then the movement, the minion movement speed track, about what that is all about. And guys, so that is all done. Okay, and then there's actually these 2 last pages. This is in the quick reference guide, but of course this has been carried over to the revised rulebook. Towards the back of the rulebook are these visual aids when you're setting up each of the dungeons. So you can see here, zoom in more, up here at the legend up here for treasure chest, blue dots, mining sites are yellow, trap symbols are purple. So when you're starting out, you can look how the boards, you put the boards together, and then the dots just represent where you're going to put the various tokens. And I'm sure that's going to help folks out quite a bit. And then the same, here's the Tomb of Kaldar, which we're going to be looking at in part 3 in depth. Same thing for that. And then of course for the expansion dungeons, Castle Blackwood, the layout for this, and then the Cavern of Lost Souls. So that is in the back of the revised rulebook, and I'm incredibly happy how this is coming out. I know tons of other people are. Oh, and I wanted to make mention because someone asked this. I usually remember everyone's name who asked this. Was it Jason? Jason, I think it was you. That in the future, the revised rulebook, of course, will be available in PDF format for you to download. So you could download it for free and print it out, or of course, if you got the Crusader upgrade kit, you're going to have the professionally printed revised rulebook from the manufacturer. Okay, so I hope you liked how this is coming out. And what I was going to say is it's been very busy, but there's not much left to work on in the revised rulebook. And if you hear that Scooter sniffling in the back, she's laying next to me, my dog. But there's just a little bit left we have to do at the table of contents. There's a very hefty index, and we're ready to roll on that. So that's what we're waiting on, and I'm very happy to be saying that. So that takes care of that. And I want to touch on Avalon. And I hope you guys are looking forward to this. And it was because of talking about the Tomb of Kaladar, I really got to thinking that, I don't think there's a lot of people that know really how in-depth this is. And I'm excited to share this with you. And I think I'm excited for you, just to experience all this. I just did so much world building and written so much lore for this game that you're going to experience in the Avalon Adventure board game. And just real quick, first of all, we're going to talk more about it when we go to the Tomb of Kaladar. But when I created this land, I just did a rough draft of what I wanted it to look like. And then I worked with, I think we mentioned him before, the very awesome Damian Maimolody. And he is an artist, and he worked on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which was RPG of the year back in 2015. And he's just, all the artists are amazing. I mean, every single one of them. And he basically just took my rough draft and, of course, painted over it with his incredible style. So just big, massive kudos to him and praise. It was a real pleasure and honor to work with him on this, and he just nailed it. It's just, I'm still finding details to this day of things that he did. But what I wanted to make mention of is, or just make you aware of, like we talked about the Tomb of Kaladar, like in that story, that is just a fraction, or just a small piece of this game. Let's go down here. Zoom in. You remember we were talking about, well, here's Mistvale right here. And then if we scoot over here, there's the Tomb of Kaladar. Well, just due south here is the Witch House. And when I did the Avalon Adventure board game, I wrote 259 different unique events, encounters, battles just for this game. So it's a choose your own adventure game. Actually, I have to pull up the board. I had the board here. It's a choose your own adventure game, but the twist is you'll never see the same game twice. Okay, I had to start another little video here, and I wanted to pull up the Avalon Adventure board for the game. But like I was saying, over here, when we were talking about the Tomb of Kaladar and that story here, that this is just one little piece of, or like a little story that could, that happens in this land. There's just so much more I could tell you, like what's inside of Castle Blackwood. That's what I was going to say. Down here in the Witch House, that through the Avalon Adventure board game, you're going to go to possibly different floors of the Witch House. And I'm going to tell you what, if you go to the second floor, don't look into the mirror. Remember that. But like over here, Ghost Isle, this used to be a village named Amermore. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but something happened here. And the residents now live in Deadwood, this village over here. And I was about to give you more. I don't want to ruin it for you, but I just want to let you know that this is one of the reasons why the game took so long before, because I was very passionate about creating this land and drawing people in, with the world building and the Avalon Adventure board game. Here's another one. Another faction in the game are the Maidens of Witherbrook Forest, who reside in this actually beautiful tower. And I have to say something. It's like, Damien, look at this detail. I mean, it's just, the detail is absolutely amazing. And wait till you see the Tomb of Calidar, because when I gave him my blueprint for the Tomb of Calidar, he painted that. You're about to see like advanced ultra detail in part 3. But so there's this faction here of the Maidens of Witherbrook Forest, and they're these fierce women and girls who defend Avalon, are like sworn defenders, and they're not someone to mess with. You don't want to be on the other end of the sword when you're tangled with them. But like I said, the Tower of St. Viticus, there's actually some family members I created in the game who were related to, I don't want to, okay, I gotta stop giving you spoilers, but just know there's something in the different floors of the tower, in the ancient runes. You start out at why don't we shoot over here? This is the actual game board, and you can see how it's sectioned off. So when you go to different parts, you start out in Hope's Reach, and then you go to these different lands, and what you're trying to, or different territories, and randomly each game, here's the runes of eternity. You notice there's a green, yellow, and red one. Well, you can't see it, but there's these 6 blue ones. But on the reverse side, there's matching symbols, like for this green one and 2 of these. And there's a matching symbol for the yellow on the reverse side of these, and same with the red. And there's a really cool mechanic where you shuffle these. You don't know, where the real runes are, and they're scattered across Avalon. So that's what I mean. It's unlimited replayability. Even if you take the same path through Avalon, it'll always change. And so I just got a few pictures to show you of kind of like, there's the red tracking tokens. When you leave a territory, you put these down, so I remember of where you've been. But the trick of the game is this. Notice up here it says unexplored, explored. You never want to go back to an explored area, because once you find the runes of eternity, you got to go back to Hope's Reach with them. So there's some strategy involved, and I don't want to give you any spoilers about it. And but what I was saying was, with going back to this, I wrote 259 different events, encounters, situations, and battles just for the Avalon Adventure board game. So in this game, you're going to learn about, wait, I had one of them pulled up like a little battle thing. There it is. So you could be fighting Bainvik, one of the Guardians, and this is called the battle board that they're on. There's an outside area, and the reverse side is this dungeon area. So in this game, you're going to meet different good factions, bad factions, many different NPCs that show up in the 60 unique quests I wrote for Dungeon Crusade. So it's very interwoven together of how all of this unfolds when you play. And again, I hope you didn't mind taking a look at all this. But I'm excited for you guys to play this game and see everything that happens, on these adventure cards, and these are double-sided. So there's about 5 or 6 entries on each of the adventure cards, and you roll a d12 if you're just freshly exploring a place. So there's some bad outcomes, there's some good, and there's some neutral ones. You just never know what's going to happen, and I got very creative with some of the things that your heroes will experience. But like I was saying, that in this game you're going to meet different factions, good and bad, monsters, tons of different NPCs. Like over here in, we use our board, but like the Tower of Kings area here, there's a good faction who you may meet, and they may help you. Like over here in the Sea of Anguish, there's floating around here, there might be a bad faction you might meet. I'm very excited for you guys to try this game out. The Vile Tower. There's five different floors here in the Vile Tower. There's a cellar, and some crazy things happen in that. But the Cavern of Lost Souls, I could keep going on. I'm just very excited for everyone to check this game out. I think that's about it. But that's what I just wanted. My whole goal with this was to, when we were, bringing up the Land of Avalon, is that, there were so many people interested in this Tomb of Kaladar and Alistair Kaladar, and I just wanted to make a point that, well, there's more, guys. That's just a little piece of the game. There's all of this different stuff that you're going to experience in Avalon, and I think you're going to have a really fun and immersive time with it. So closing out, in case you don't know, if you find the 3 runes of eternity, the green, yellow, and red, and real quick, the blue ones, if you find a blue one, you can cash that in for a reroll on any die roll. So, if you want to reroll anything in the Avalon Adventure board game or Dungeon Crusade, these carry over. You can cash those in to do a reroll. So that's what they're worth. And then there's actually rejuvenation potions you can find exclusive to the Avalon Adventure board game. It restores 3 health and 3 essence. These can be carried over into Dungeon Crusade. But what I was letting you know is that you start off this game first. You don't have to, but for the full experience, this is what it is. You start out at Hope's Reach, and you go through Avalon, like I said, and have this grand adventure. Once you find the 3 runes of eternity, you've got to make it back to Hope's Reach. There's a character in the game I created named Father Jova, and he's the one who sends you on this, that you need these 3 runes to shatter the curse on the dungeon. So if your heroes make it back, that's when you import them into Dungeon Crusade, and they start off in the village, and they get a shopping phase with the gold and loot and everything they found in Avalon on their journey. So I hope I made sense with all that. But I wanted just to say all that because of Tomb of Kaladar and let you know, guys, there's just a lot more to this game. If you think that little part down here was something, there's all of this to explore. I think you'll have a good time. Okay, I think I'm going to shut my mouth now. But I hope that you enjoyed this, the part 2 of this update. We still got more. I'm going to be back today with part 3, and we're just going to relax and chill out, and we're going to take a tour of the Tomb of Kaladar. Wait till you see the art on it. It's going to blow your mind. We're going to talk about some of the unique, here, I'll give you a little taste right now. Some of the unique things in there about the Labyrinth of Solitude, the 6 environmental hazards your heroes could run into. But it's going to be I think you'll have a really good time as we explore this. So expect that next. All right, everyone. I hope that you have a great Thursday. Thank you again for your time. I love hanging out with you, and I'm glad we're about to wrap all this up. All right. Have a great Thursday, and I will be talking to you very soon in part 3. Bye-bye.